So anyhow, I don't have any affiliation with Delphi. Fact is, I'm not really sure where these slides actually came from. They were handed down to me from Dr. Brandel at some point. So take it for what it's worth. But this is something that they actually utilize, and you know, if you're not familiar with Delphi, again, Google search. All right, I got something sticking out of my hair. Y'all are killing me. Y'all would tell me, right?
Sure.
Uh-huh. My fly's not open, none of that stuff. Ah, man. Y'all make me nervous sometimes. All right. So anyhow, if you go to any large organization, they will have some type of system design process, right? They're going to make it their own. In the ENP 104 class, the Intro to Engineering class, we actually talk about an iterative design process, right? That we've taken from somewhere else and kind of made it our own, and it's how we get our freshman engineering students through their very first class. All right. So this is out there on Moodle, and again, it's just something else to illustrate that, you know, no matter where you're going, they're going to have a similar type process. All right. So the system design process. All right. Number one, okay, and we had, who was it was sitting over here that was like, can't we interview somebody? Who was that? Was it Duncan? Yeah. All right. So yeah, the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk to the customer and find out what they want. All right. And is that just a one-time thing? What do you think? No. We are going to go back and forth to our customer multiple times, as many times as it takes to clarify what it is that we're doing is meeting their requirements, right? Again, the customer, a lot of times, they really don't know exactly what they want. They have this idea, but they really don't know what they want. Okay? So number two, do research on the topic, interview customers several times until you have a good understanding of their needs. All right. So again, I think I talked about that on Monday, that when we first start the conversation with our customer, we're going to do what? We're not only going to talk to the customer, we're going to do our industry research also, right? So that we're on the same sheet of music. We're able to talk the same language, and we can understand what it is that they're asking for. Because if you can't understand what they're asking for, there's no way that you can actually make it for them. All right, number three, this is actually pretty important. Reword the customer needs into top-level requirements for the system. What are top-level requirements? Okay, so we're going to do an assignment, probably assign it on Friday, for cell phone requirements. What do you require in a cell phone? So let's think about that. What are some things that, if you were going to go buy a new cell phone tomorrow, what would you require? Sarah?
A certain amount of storage.
Okay, so we've got to have X amount of memory, right? Because those 5,000 pictures that you're lugging around on your iCloud are bogging things down, right? What else?
A screen.
Screen size, right? How many people got the little bitty phones? All right, hold up your phones. Who's got the megaphone? Nobody's got the great big huge one. Well, yours is pretty big. You've got the large phone. All right. So, depending upon what it is that you like, what your own personal preferences are, right? Like I've had the smaller phones, hated them. I can't see them. My eyesight's starting to fail because I'm getting old, right? So I need a little bigger display. What else? How about, what else about the display? Do we want to have a high resolution display? Yeah. Well, yeah. What you got?
Oh, internet connectivity. I mean,
Internet connectivity, right? Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. All right. Whatever the next thing coming down the pipe is. All right. What else?
The camera quality.
Camera. All right. How many megapixels do I need? All right. What else? right? The list goes on and on, right? If you, go ahead.
How much a plan costs for the phone?
Okay.
And like whether it's like locked or unlocked, and like what provider it is.
Okay. Provider. Which system it's actually designed for, Duncan?
If it has a headphone jack or the Apple plug-in.
Okay. Or if it's the wireless ones, which mine is, which was really funny because I went to the gym and I'm like trying to plug my phones in and like, yeah, it doesn't have it. It sucks. Matt.
User compatibility, specifically users who aren't used to technology.
Okay.
How well it integrates with other products that you have,
Okay.
like within like an ecosystem.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So the list goes on and on, right? And so this is an assignment that I'll assign, like I said, on Friday, to give you the weekend to work on it and probably another couple of days. All right. So we're going to take what the customer's saying and we're going to start filling out this document called top level requirements. All right. And I have a lecture that talks about writing good requirements, right? So for now, just know that requirements are things that it must do. All right. So top level requirements are basically do or die things. They have to do it, or it's not something I want. It's not something I'm interested in. All right. And then we're going to develop several alternatives or concepts that satisfy the top level requirements. All right. So we're still in the idea phase, right? We're generating ideas to address these requirements. Hey, we could do this, this, and this. All right. And we're going to go back to the customer at some point in time with that to say, okay, here are some of the concepts that we have. All right. Ideally, we'd like to narrow it down to one or two, but sometimes there's 3 or 4 or 5, right? But we've got to get approval from the customer before we move forward. All right. When we find that best option or the best couple options, we go back to the customer, right? And we're going to review those top level requirements. We're going to go through our proposals to say, you know, okay, here are the options that we have that are going to meet your requirements. All right? And we're going to get the customer buy-in. Why is it important to get the customer buy-in? Jack?
You need the customer to like buy into it because you need some like stake into it. The customer is going to want something that they want the buy-in for it.
Okay. Matt?
If you don't have a customer base, then there's no point in making it because you're not sure your profit.
Right. Who's paying for this? Right? The customer's paying for this. So these top level requirements are what? Something the customer's paying directly for. What's that called? Value added work, right? Oh, I know. Whoa, holy cow, he went back to another lesson. Woo, we established a thought linkage. Yay!
So we call lesson synergy right there.
All right. Holy cow, what is this? It's a flow chart. Oh my goodness, we've got all this way and we're actually using that knowledge that we gained.
No way.
No way. I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's revolutionary.
It is.
It's almost like there's a system to it.
All right, so here we've got the customer comes to us, all right, with an idea or a need. Hey, I need you to make this. Whether it be a widget, whether it be a program, whatever, okay? The customer's coming to you and they have needs that they need filled, right? So become aware of the need. This could be something totally different because we've got requests for quotes and all that good stuff, so outside of what we're trying to do. But we're going to interview it. Again, we're going to talk with them, identify what the top level requirements are, review with the client. So, what I heard you say is that it must do this, 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 and this. All right? And if the client is going north and south saying, yep, that's what it is, all right, then we're good. We can start moving on to analysis. Oh my goodness, there's another thing, analysis. We're going to analyze the problem and we're going to try to figure out how to address what the customer is. So we're going to analyze the problem, expand or refine the requirements. So, and we're going to talk a little bit this with functional decomposition here in just a little bit. But So requirements. All right, so one of the requirements we talked about for our phone was Wi-Fi compatibility, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, right? Are there different systems that fall within that? Yes. All right. So we would actually break those out, all right, so that we can start looking at component level issues, all right, very soon. We're going to identify those early, again, so that we understand where it is that we're going. So once we've got those broken down, and so now we've got, again, this isn't bottom level stuff. This is top level requirements, starting to break those down just a little bit so that we can get a full understanding of what it is that we have to do. All right? So we're going to look then at alternatives. What are things that we can do to address these requirements? What is it that is available to address those requirements? All right? What we're also going to be thinking about, so typically one of the requirements is going to be that I want to spend X amount of dollars, right? Yes? Is that important? Yes? No? Maybe? Yeah, money's always important, right? Nobody ever comes to you and says, I have unlimited money, do what you want. I wish they would. All right? So, when we're looking at those alternatives, right, one of those top level requirements is that it costs it can cost no more than X amount of dollars, right? And so when I'm starting to look at those alternatives, that's going to be a driving factor as well, right? Because when I start examining those alternatives, I'm going to look at the cost associated with those. All right? Am I going to be able to do it with this and still stay under that cost level? All right? I may or may not. All right? So we brainstormed, we figured out some alternatives. We're going back to the customer to say, okay, here's where we're at. All right? Here are those top level requirements. Again, we're reviewing that with the customer. Why is it important that we continue to review those? Ian, what do you think?
So they get what they want.
Okay, we get what they want, but what else?
So like, we don't go off track, or like mission creep doesn't.
Oh yeah, mission. What is mission creep? Where'd you hear that term?
Some like national defense blog. Basically,
Okay.
where you start off with like one objective.
Right?
So you would say, in the example was counterterrorism leading into nation building.
Right.
Is the context of her.
So mission creep is the good idea fairy, right? All right, and this is something I deal with a lot. In that we're working on something, and somebody gets this idea that's kind of close to related, and they start working on that, and then they get another idea, and they start working on that. The next thing you know, they're way over here. All right, and the thing that we were actually working on is over here, right? Mission creep. Keep adding stuff to it. All right. What else? How likely is it that in the interim the customer's going to be like, oh yeah, and I thought about this?
Very.
It's always going to happen, right? Because, you know, as they spend more time on it and we're having conversations back and forth, somewhere along the line, all right, they're going to get, oh yeah, and it also has to do this. All right, so we continue to develop that conversation with our customers so that we are on the same sheet of music and we're delivering what it is that they want. All right, so we're reviewing it with the customer. Once they agree, all right, so again, we've really done nothing at this point other than put ideas together. We might have photographs, sketches, drawings, stuff like that, but we haven't invested any real money into it yet. Okay, it's just time, which time is money, but all right. Once the customer says, yeah, okay, maybe one or two of these fit the bill for what they're looking for and they're worth exploring, all right? So then we're going to start developing conceptual designs, all right? Again, we're going to review with the customer, all right? So this is an ongoing conversation with the customer that continues on through the whole process, all right? Because if you don't, you're going to miss the boat somewhere. All right, so here we are making a preliminary design. All right. And again, this is, for me, like when we're dealing with engineering students, and I keep going back to this EMP 104 class, which is the intro to engineering, right? The very first day of class, we sit down and we give them top level requirements for their project that they're going to do during that class. All right, this is just J term, so 3-week class. And so we give them those top level requirements. It must do this, this, and this. All right, and so what they're doing is they're figuring out ideas, and by the time they leave that class and they get ready to come back in the next day, all right, they're cutting stuff out of cardboard and they're having initial proof of concept. All right, they're actually starting into that prototyping. All right. Define all the needed functions, okay? So as we start to design things, all right, and I said this on Monday, all right, and actually our little first thing that we did was what? I gave you a task without any real information, all right, and what do people do? They jump right into design, all right? So again, we're going to start from the macro level, right, way out here, and then we're going to start narrowing it down, okay? So we know what the big picture is. All right, and then we're going to step it down. We're going to start looking at subsystems. All right, when we understand those relationships, all right, synthesis. All right, then we're going to step down another level. All right, and we're going to continue to do that till we get all the way down. All right, to the most basic level. All right, so as we do that, we are starting to define functions, and we're going to talk about functions, functional decomposition, and all that stuff. I may not get to it today, all right? And then we're going to create subsystem specifications, right? Because if I have requirements, top-level requirements, as I start breaking down subsystems, all right, what's going to happen? Are some of those going to answer some of those top-level requirements? Some of them will directly. Others have a cumulative effect. We have 2 or 3 things that are stacked together to answer a top-level requirement. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So we start this preliminary design. Again, we go back to the customer and say, okay, here's what we've got. All right. And I can tell you from experience that the customer is going to make changes throughout this whole process. All right, it's very, very rare that a customer comes in like, yep, that looks good. All right, there's always tweaking that's going on, and so we need to be prepared for that. All right, so now we're going to create a detailed design. All right, determine functional allocation, parts, software, detailed subsystems, and part specifications, interface documents, determine how the final system will be tested, select parts to order the algorithms to use. This was based off of computer stuff. And get the customer's approval of this detailed design. All right? So, here we are. We're building this product, right? We're essentially in the prototyping phase, right? We're building something. All right? If we're doing manufacturing, if we're doing software type stuff, we're still building something. All right? We're fleshing it out. We're making things work at a gross level. All right? Fabrication.